I'm here at Cardiff Castle to show you one of my favourite compositional tricks. It's called frames within frames, and essentially it forces you to find a gateway or some other form of natural window to create a border at the edges of your pictures. Using this framing device is not just a way of creating more interesting pictures, it also gets over two major limitations of SLR photography. The first drawback is that photographs are two-dimensional, and every picture you take struggles to show the depth and all-important third dimension of the real world. Adding the frame in the foreground is one of the many great ways of adding a feeling of depth to your shot. The second drawback of SLR shooting is that every picture is exactly the same shape. Everyone is rectangular and has a fixed aspect ratio where one side is exactly 1.5 times longer than the other. Using a natural frame allows you to create a new inner picture shape. This adds variety to your shots and often means you can mask out acres of boring sky and grass that you would otherwise have to include in the frame. Let's go off and try and find some more natural frames around the castle for us to use. We've now found a spot that provides us with a series of windows that we can use to frame up different parts of the structures around us. I'm using aperture priority mode on my camera, as this allows me control over the depth of field. With every frame in a frame I shoot, I have to decide exactly how much I want in focus. It is tempting always to have both the frame and the distant subject tacked sharp, but it can be just as rewarding to use a wide aperture and have just the subject sharp with the frame blurred. Or you can be more radical and blur the subject, keeping just the frame teasingly in focus. It is not just man-made apertures that work for this technique. We are now down in the gardens and I can use the boughs of the trees or a gap in the hedge as a more organic border for my pictures of the beautiful castle architecture. I just need to alter the focal length of the lens I'm using and my distance from the foliage to ensure the castle appears a suitable size in the inner frame. It's worth practicing using frames within frames. These shots are much easier to find than you think once you've developed an eye for them. They are particularly useful for travel and cityscape photography. One unexpected benefit from these inner frames is that it can be used to hide unwanted parts of the scene. Delivery lorries, hordes of tourists, or ugly signs can all be hidden from the scene by your foreground frame. So there's no need to use the clone tool when you get back home.